Welcome to this edition of When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine, a discussion of sustainable living and what that means to you and me. I am Jay Warmke.
And I'm Annie Warmke.
Hey, we are together. And today we're going to talk about resiliency in isolation, or when I said just leave me alone, I really didn't mean it. So
that's not true for you, but
no,
I think it's true for an awful lot of people.
Yeah, and clearly this is in reference to the current pandemic, but I think it could be in reference to almost anything, because so many folks, even in normal times, are isolated in some form or fashion.
Right. I don't think this is about isolation. I think this is about being resilient in life and feeling good about life. And the fact that we're being forced to do some of this makes people pretty upset because they lack the skills to do it.
Okay, well, give me the skills.
Okay, I'm going to try. You're difficult.
How can I be happy? Well, usually I'm happier when I am in isolation.
Yes, that's true. But I'm not talking about happiness either. I'm talking about contentment. So first of all, I think we have to be mindful about what the situation really is. We need to know a lot more about what's happening, but there's too much information out there. So what we need to do is pick a couple of sources that we're going to look at if we need to every day or often during the day, set some limits on how often we're going to check on the news. That would be a good one for you. Yeah. And then we're going to say, all right, we know what we know, and make sure that those are reliable, science-based information sources. But the other thing we have to do is we've got to adjust our self-talk. And this could be true of any time, any day of your life. And the quarantine is difficult because we're being forced to do things we don't want to do. But we need to take it moment by moment. It's not for eternity.
Yeah, I find myself, I remind myself a lot on that. I just say, look, it's not forever. You know, it's just a limited period of time. Whatever that ends up being, it's not forever.
And the other part of that then is that we need to adjust what normal is for ourselves. And that's the thing we keep railing against is my life doesn't feel normal. Well, then let's fix it. Let's create a new normal. So that's a little of what I'm going to talk about. But we have to start by lowering some of our expectations and really accepting who we are, a self-acceptance. Because we're trying to do too many things and we're doing them under fear and stress. And we're often dealing with kids at home, trying to take care of them, keep them active at the same time, trying to make sure they don't kill each other and go to school all at the same time. So, and there's the stress of, are we going to get sick? Are they going to get sick? Are we going to die? You know, there's a lot of things going on. So we have to accept that everything about ourselves, our current situation and our life is just the way it is at this moment. And what does that mean? What's the new normal of that? And then we also have to be able to figure out where is the good in the world.
That may take some hunting.
Well, I don't know. I look over at you and you're the good in my world.
Well, that's true, but I'm not in everyone's world. So
that's true. But so there's a lot of scary, negative, and overwhelming information to take in, and it's constant. And that's why limiting your looking at the news is helpful. But there are also stories of amazing things that people are doing to sacrifice and to help others and to support one another. And that creates some balance in the information to say, all right, the government is driving us crazy, or there's this insanity that's impacting our lives with the virus, and the information is different depending on who you listen to. So
let's look at some cat videos.
That's right. That's what I say. When it gets too bad, I say, next, cat video. But also, I personally like to say, just for today. And I'll come up with a phrase, just for today, I can be content. And I can do anything for one day. And tomorrow I can start with the next day. I also have with my friend who during the virus has had breast cancer and had a mastectomy. We came up with word of the day. And every day, even now she's recovered and she's doing very well, we still have word of the day. And we don't always talk on the phone every day, but we text and I say, what's the word of the day?
So you're saying everybody needs to go into a 12-step program.
It's not 12 steps. It's being resilient. And right now, my new normal is I need to have support that I would normally get if I was doing other activities that I can't do because I'm in quarantine, or the winter is coming, or I don't feel well. These are all reasons why we should do these things. It isn't just about the quarantine. So reaching out to other people, we need to have a routine and we need to stick to it as much as we can. And a lot of things have changed because people have different bedtimes. They have different schedules. They have to vary their schedule because they're working at home and their kids are there, and who's going to do what. And you got to cook meals, which is something people often are not used to.
Well, it seems to me a lot of people's anxiety and anger is because their traditional routines have been disrupted. Like, this is fall, I'm supposed to watch football. This is something I look forward to. Or this is summer, I watch baseball.
Okay, so here's the thing, get a life. The reality is that there is a new normal, and that normal is going to shift, and it's not going to ever go back to the way it was before the virus, or before you got sick, or before you lost your job, or before you whatever. Things change in life. So what I'm saying is, so if there's no football, if there's no baseball, find something else to do. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Mm-hmm. So it's important to develop what I call a self-care toolkit. And in that toolkit, you're going to say, look, there's a lot of need for sensory stimulation. So touch, taste, sight, hearing, smell, movement, comforting, pressure. There are lots. I saw these blankets that are weighted. I thought, oh my God, I already have so many blankets that I have to sleep under. It would kill me. But there is this sort of compression that when people have a lot of anxiety, it helps them. So developing a toolkit that says when I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed by what's going on or my own thoughts, maybe there's a special box you've created or a bin that's under the bed. And with kids, it's really fun to create a comfort box, like a shoe box or something.
Security blanket.
Yeah, really. And it's like a first aid kit. So it might have some cocoa mix that you could make hot cocoa. It might have a soft blanket or even a stuffed animal, photos of vacations, some music that you find comforting, some lavender or eucalyptus essential oils. Those are really helpful for anxiety. Maybe you have a rocking chair, a journal, or an inspirational book. Coloring books. Adults really love coloring books.
So you're saying that one method would be sort of combining the two is say, all right, I'm in isolation every day at 3:00. I'm going to sit in the rocking chair, get under my blanket, and have a cup of hot chocolate.
Or something,
and that's
a routine.
Little thing to look forward to.
Yes, it's true. It's like us in our hot tub. You know, we've got a 1994 hot tub that came during the virus, and that helps us to end our day.
Sure.
And so having a routine is super important. Also, blowing watercolor on paper through a straw is visually appealing. And who would think it? But it might be a fun thing to do if it's your thing. And also, just making sure you have some things in the box, because if you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed, you might not be able to think at that moment what would be good to do. So you can go to the box and find something. This is mental health, self-care, and it's really important. It's also caring enough about yourself, appreciating yourself and your ability to function when things are feeling out of control. Stay hydrated, drink more water, put some lemon in it, or put some ginger tea in it or something. And create a menu for yourself so that you can eat better and, you know, cook meals ahead. So sometimes there's fast food. So we have lots of podcasts on how to do that type of thing. But this is all how we can take care of ourselves and challenge yourself to try new recipes. There are tons of cookbooks out there. There are tons of YouTube videos that can help you find new recipes for foods that you might have that need to be used up or whatever.
Well, but I think a lot of people in the beginning of the pandemic did just that. They said, okay, I'm going to make, what was that? The sourdough bread was the...
Oh, they were passing around sourdough starter.
Yeah, and they did it, but they did not sustain it. You know, they did it for a couple of weeks.
Well, because we're trying to make the normal that we thought existed before COVID to come back into our lives, and it doesn't work.
So how do you deal with that? Because I guess what I'm hearing from you is try these new things. It may not become your normal routine, but maybe it will. Maybe you find that you've suddenly developed this passion for baking. But most people, they're not going to. So then try watercolors and maybe
or try a variety of things, or make notes to yourself and put them in the self-care box that remind you of things. But also, when you say, how do you do that? I think the next thing you have to do is to say, look, everybody that's living in this space needs to have one little space that's only theirs. So when something's wrong, or there's tension or anxiety or feeling overwhelmed, and everybody should be doing this. This is just a no-brainer mental health technique. Or winter or a storm, or I'm having a bad day, or I don't feel well. Anyway, to have a retreat space. So one of the things that I did, which I realize is a luxury, is I moved my office to a different place. I brought it down to a different building. So I leave our house and I come here to work, and I have to come back to make lunch and do all that. But I'm also getting some exercise, which is not usually a problem, but it also makes me get up from the computer. And so space is often at a premium for most people. They don't have the luxury of living in a huge building or whatever. So it may be that space doesn't exist in your house. Maybe you go sit in the landing or out on the fire escape, but someplace you identify is your space. And everybody that lives in that space knows when that person goes there, don't bother them.
Well, it seems like if you've got children at home too, you should be creating these spaces for them. Say,
everybody.
Okay, this is Jane's.
It's not time out. It's a safe spot. Yeah. It's a comfy retreat.
So if she's got the blanket draped over the chair, leave her alone.
I know. And there may be signals. There may be, like when we were kids, we used to make, blanket forts over the coffee table. And so maybe it's a place where if the blanket goes over the coffee table, the child crawls in there, it means I need to just rest from all the stimulus, or I'm tired, or I don't feel okay about whatever my brother was yelling at me or punching me or whatever.
Well, because I hear a lot of complaints by parents saying that these kids are driving me crazy. My guess is the kids are saying these parents are driving me crazy.
Yeah,
this whole thing is driving me crazy.
Everybody gets on each other's nerves at some point, even in the best of times. But I think the old-fashioned, let's make a fort with pillows or blankets, could serve really, really well in this situation. And also, one of the things that you're really talking about is we don't feel in control. So find something that you can control and control it like crazy. So organize your bookshelf, purge your closet, put together that furniture that's been sitting there, or repair it, group your toys. Kids love to do that, or clean your room or your office or your kitchen, or move things, whatever that takes, but take control of it, because a lot of times when the storm comes, or we're sick, or there's a quarantine, we don't feel in control of anything at all. And especially if you're living with other people.
Well, and some of these tasks don't sound overly exciting, but I do know that when you are depressed, the solution is to do something.
Move.
Almost anything.
Move. That's move. And maybe help others in the process. That's another piece of it.
I don't want to be bothered with that.
Well, helping others is a great way to step outside of your own bologna sausage.
But part of the difficulty there is you're not with them. So this
all right, but you have a whole world of computer on your phone in front of you. So you can support restaurants by ordering food. You can offer to grocery shop for somebody if you do go to the grocery store. You can check up on elderly people. You can send encouraging notes. I know for my birthday, I sent notes to 25 of my friends, and it's so sweet because they call up and they're like all tearful and thank you for thinking of me on your birthday kind of thing. But it engaged us at a different level. That's the new normal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this normal broadcast here, we're saying we're going to remind you that you are listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke, reminding you once again, it is indeed the end of the world as we know it.
And for this episode, thank God.
Thank God. And the end of your normal world, let's say.
Well, normalcy. We have this sort of culture that we live in. Every home has its own normalcy. And we've been we've been mandated to change how that works. And so we need to embrace it. And we need to say, look, how do we create balance in what we have? And how do we stop trying to force everything to go back into where it was? Because it's not going there.
Well, and one of the things I find is the pandemic has really pointed out to me how unresilient or non-resilient our culture, our society really is. We pride ourselves on being a pioneer stock and we can survive anything. But they run out of toilet paper at the grocery store and you're just having a meltdown, you know? I mean, it just reminded when we lived in England and the Queen Mum died. You remember that? And she was like 101
or something.
Years old.
No, she wasn't 170.
And they were all shocked. Oh, she was such a young. But anyway, you wanted to maybe stand in line. They were having
to go into Westminster Abbey
of the casket. Yeah, and by the time we got out, the line was literally
like 3 miles. We could see Westminster Abbey.
And the police were standing there saying, "Well, the wait right now is 7 hours," and it just cracked me up because there's this elderly couple standing there talking to the policeman. He goes, "Well, it'll be 7 hours," and the guy looks at the woman and goes, "Good thing we brought sandwiches."
Yeah, and our tea.
Out.
We have our tea.
Yeah, and I thought, there's no
And you
way.
looked so panicked, Annie, please. And I said, no, I just want to look. I just want to see. But so that's the thing is, you know, we have to adapt and we have forgotten how to do that. And that's what resiliency is all about. So I want to say some more about helping others. I know, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic, I had a meltdown like every 4 or 5 days. It was mostly because we weren't able to see our granddaughter. And then I started to learn some things about myself and that I had been being very one-sided in that people contacted me, you know, former interns and friends, they contacted me. I didn't contact them. And I had to find the energy to find ways to do that. So I started by sending notes. I started by organizing us to come on to Zoom and do some things. We're doing a crafting afternoon and a crafting evening now. We're listening to podcasts and having a discussion periodically on the podcasts. And I'm calling them. You know, I'm calling my friends. I have a list and I'm looking at the list and I'm thinking, all right, who haven't I talked to? And the joy in their voice at hearing me call them makes me feel like, okay, my life's so good. It is good, but it makes me feel like I'm having less meltdowns. I'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to step outside of ourselves by doing for others, and it's rewarding and it's good for us. So we also have to get out of our environment, and that may not be all that easy, but we have to move. We have to physically move every single day for at least 30 minutes. And that isn't that hard to do. There are lots of ways. If you don't want to have contact, go early-ish in the morning or late in the evening, or try to go on less traveled streets or less traveled roads. If you're a high risk or living with those who are high risk, I thought this was a cute idea I found. Is like open the window and turn on the fan and get lots of fresh air blowing into your face. It apparently has a really great way to raise your spirits.
And it's brisk in Minnesota in February.
Well, it's brisk a lot of places right now.
So one of the things we've been doing, of course, is going on picnics.
Well, first we go on a ride. We say we're going to take a ride and then we're going to have a picnic.
Mm-hmm. Boy, we're so 1940s. Huh?
Well, or 50s. We did that when we were kids. But the thing is, it's really sweet because we've discovered some really great grocery stores that we didn't know existed. We were in shock. One of the ones we discovered in really a small town. And so it's something to look forward to. And as the weather gets worse, we won't be able to stay outside. We climbed behind a building one day so we could get out of the wind. But again, that was fun. And we had that time together. And so anyway, I think we have to move around. We have to walk. We have to take breaks during the day, whatever that is. It's just so important for our brains.
I think a lot of people are discovering that when they work at home, they're never away from work.
No, that's the challenge.
So we've been dealing with that for years and years. So we've had to come to terms with that. But if it's all new for you, you know, you were used to going to the office at 9, coming home at 5, leaving it behind. But now you're you're there all the time.
Well, then you got to have a new routine. But one thing is the sales of bicycles have gone crazy. So if you have the ability to have a safe place to ride a bike and you have the physical ability to do it, that seems like a really good way to get some movement in your life. And you can also buy, in the bad weather months, you can buy a little stationary stand that the back wheel fits in, and you could ride inside and watch binge watch something or whatever. So anyway, so next thing is find a long-term project that you can dive into. That's never a problem for us. We have a lot of short-term is long-term. But no, so this is more kind of fun thing. So learn how to play a keyboard. There are so many tutorials on the internet between YouTube and private companies, and it's unbelievable. Put together a huge jigsaw puzzle. There are lots of jigsaw puzzles in thrift stores for 50 cents. Start a 15-hour game of Risk. Imagine, ours never lasts that long. Paint a picture. If you've never done anything like that, you can order supplies online, or you can find them in thrift stores if you're able to go out. Read the Harry Potter series or some other wonderful book series, and talk to your friends about it. Arrange phone calls. You can do group chats and all kinds of things online. Binge watch an 8-season show. That's so tempting sometimes. We don't really have the broadband to do that. Crochet. I mean, one of the things that research shows is that repetitive movement, like knitting, coloring, painting, sculpting, jumping rope, that left to right movement, like running, drumming, skating, hopping, can effectively be it can affect self-soothing and maintaining self-regulation in times of distress. So you're getting your eye movement to change, you're getting your body to shift. And these are all things that are really doable. And if you don't have the ability to go out, go online and send emails, or go to social media and say, I can't go out, but I really love to have a crochet needle and some yarn. Everybody has that stuff laying around. And then go find a tutorial, or find somebody who knows how, and talk on Zoom to each other. Find lightness and humor in each day. Now, this is a little more challenging. We try every day at the end of our morning briefing to find joke of the day. And
there are very few funny jokes of the day.
Unfortunately, America it's not got a sense of humor, or the sense of humor it has is so disgusting you could, puke. But anyway, so there are cat videos on YouTube. There's stand-up shows on Netflix. There are funny movies on Peacock and Hoopla, and a lot of libraries have a free service if you have a library card, so you can access a lot of really great films, especially old films on Hoopla. So all that's out there just to be pulled in. You got to reach out for help. So there's your team's out there, whether it's your friends, your family, people you've worked with, or if you do have a therapist, they're available even at a distance. They're available online. You've got to keep up if you're taking supplements or medications, and you've got to keep doing those things. You wouldn't stop doing that because there's a storm. It snows or it rains too much or whatever. You'd keep taking care of yourself.
But so much of this, it sounds like these are things, once again, come back to, you should be doing this anyway.
Yeah, and it's about creating resiliency and balance. And these are things we've been very poor at in this country.
Well, maybe what our society can get out of this whole isolation, we do, and we've talked about it in previous shows about our Thanks for Nothing season, where we say we want to consume less, consume nothing for a period of time, and change our behaviors. Hopefully we'll come out at the other end of this self-isolation or the societal isolation with new habits developed that will make us a little more sane and rational as a culture.
God, you're a dreamer.
That's a hope.
I think some of us...
I may be wrong.
I don't want to be a smart aleck and say what I think about that, but I'm not sure. I feel like some thinking people, and that's where the key comes, is that word thinking, is some thinking people are going to see opportunity, and they're going to make change with their families and their loved ones, their friends, like what we're trying to do. But And I can honestly say that I can't see myself going back. Yeah, I'm going to be thrilled to death to burn my masks, But I was thinking about it this morning and thinking, I might in the winter start wearing a mask when I go out when this is over, just to keep people's germs away from me. But I just think we have to say, what are the good moments of what's happening? And I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
But a lot of this comes down to taking control of your life.
Right.
Instead
and
of sitting
serious.
there saying, I am a victim.
Yeah, I'm waiting on somebody to do it for me. So some other resources for help are certainly the children's teachers and related service providers. There are many schools that are prepared to help homeschooling parents and all the people that have to be connected as far as education. So reminding yourself daily that this is temporary, and that's something you and I just had talked about earlier in this, is that it is temporary.
This too shall pass.
Well, the one thing in life that's constant is change. So that has nothing to do with the virus or whether a storm is coming or illness. It all eventually morphs into something else. So we have to be committed to creating some routine, some balance, some emotional health in our lives, and stop looking away and saying we can't do it for ourselves.
Well, it's like if you broke your leg, you have to sit down and let it heal, regardless of how much you want to go run. And this is kind of that, is saying, okay, we just have to be patient. We have to let it heal.
Yeah. So the other thing is, and we're talking about that now, but we've got to find the lessons in this for ourselves. Like you were saying, you're hopeful that people are going to make some significant changes. I'm not really hopeful about that. People are complaining that they have to cook meals, that they have to spend time with their kids. And this has been going on since March 20th when everybody started going into lockdown. So the holidays are going to be really scary because people are not going to stay home. They're not going to social distance. They're not going to wear their masks. And so people are going to get sicker. But there's also going to be winter storms and other flus. And so we need to do these things for ourselves now. So the whole crisis itself can seem sad and senseless and really, as the media likes to tell us, avoidable. But we need to create a list of potential positive outcomes. And what is this current new normal for ourselves? What needs to change for ourselves in our world and our lives? And then we need to put those words, post them somewhere so we can regularly see them to remind ourselves of where we're going, like right in front of the toilet where you have undivided attention. Okay. Changes people's lives.
Okay, so find the silver lining, hopefully.
There is one.
Yeah, and sometimes we say this seems senseless, this seems sad. Well, you know what? It is.
Yeah, so get over it. Move on. I'm sorry people are dying. I feel horrible, and people are very sick maybe for the rest of their lives. But I'm not trying to dismiss that. I'm just saying, look, we have to do the best we can, and these are some ways to do it.
So our search for resiliency. Well,
yes.
You have been listening to When the Biomass Hits the Wind Turbine with Jay and Annie Warmke. We want to thank our Emmy award-winning producer, Adam Rich, and we want to thank you for spending just a little bit of time with us. And as your grandmother hopefully told you, the secret to a happy and sustainable life is?
My grandmother knew lots about resiliency, and she said, clean up your own mess, play nice with others, and eat your vegetables.
Till next time. Bye-bye.
I know the stars are dancing in the firelight. Soon we'll be together, and all will be revealed. Mother Earth will sing, and her children will be healed. 'Cause I see the morning glory blossom in the night. I know the stars are dancing in the twilight. Soon we'll be together, and all will be revealed. Mother Earth will sing, and her children will be healed.
You can find more information on living sustainably in our unsustainable world at bluerockstation.com.